Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, my fellow young leaders, students, Dr. Supajai, Ms. Tekeshvili, it is an honor and a pleasure to welcome you here for the first day of the Berlin International Economics Congress 2013. The topic that we're focused on this year is intercultural relations, youth development advancement, environmental responsibility and ecotourism, opportunities for successful nation branding in the 21st century. At the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy, we define cultural diplomacy in a somewhat more modern way than it's been done in the past. Classical cultural diplomacy was primarily governmental, primarily with the goal of winning the hearts and minds of foreign audiences. As we think of some of the classical examples, America House, British Council, Goethe Institute, etc. What we consider new school cultural diplomacy, or the ICD version, would be a cultural diplomacy that's focused more on educating, enhancing, and sustaining relationships. So it's more of a two-way street, also more about listening than speaking, in the sense, how can we better understand cultures that we're trading with, countries that we're working with, etc. For us, if cultural diplomacy works, in the end, you'll have a stable relationship. A stable relationship for us, there are three necessities: dialogue, understanding, and trust. We don't have to like each other. We don't necessarily have to agree with each other, but we do have to trust each other. So the point is, if cultural diplomacy is successful, we then have a relationship based on trust, where one has really a mutual understanding. That makes it easier to trade. That makes it easier to make peace treaties. That makes it easier to deal with global issues, such as the environment. And the topic that we're dealing with this conference, of course, is, I think, an obvious connection between international economics and cultural diplomacy. The better the cultural bridge, the easier it will be to have the economic bridge, and vice versa. What might be, I think, the more innovative aspect of this conference is looking, first of all, at the issue youth development and advancement. Now, as we see the economic crisis, as we look at Spain, as we look at Greece, as we look at the Arab Spring, Egypt, Tunisia, really around the world, it's clear that we have a growing issue of more and more youth, more and more young leaders who are very talented, very educated, but they can't get jobs. This is something that we're very, very aware of here with our own students. We have an MA program at the ICD, an MA in International Relations and Cultural Diplomacy. Our biggest priority is how do we actually get them into their dream jobs, ideally, afterwards. That's for us success, not just giving a good education and a diploma at the end. So as we deal with this issue, youth development advancement, this will, I think, be a fundamental priority for the years to come. We're dedicating actually the third day of the conference, or the 9th of March, to this exact theme, where we will actually launch a new organization, the Organization for Youth Education and Development. So this is a big priority for us at the Institute, and I think also as we deal with international economics, will become one of the most growing priorities of the future. Secondly, environmental responsibility and ecotourism. For me personally, as I get up every day and come to the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy, the issue of climate change, the issue of the environment, is actually my number one concern. For me, cultural diplomacy is a means to an end. If we have good cultural diplomacy, that'll get us to the point where we actually can collaborate on the global urgent priorities, such as climate change, such as the environment. So again, for me, that's a target, that's a goal, and it keeps me focused with the cultural diplomacy. It's much more than just promoting a country or a culture. It's really getting it to the point where we can work together on urgent issues, such as the environment, which is urgent. We can't wait until tomorrow. We can't wait until next year. We have to deal with this now and deal with it multilaterally. Finally, nation branding. Nation branding is a term that's been thrown around for years, can mean very different things. I think a lot of nation branding has nothing to do with cultural diplomacy. A lot of it does. And what we're going to try to look at in the context of this conference, where we've invited delegations from all over the world, different styles, different strategies of nation branding, some of them very connected to issues such as tourism and also investment, some of them also done what I would consider a very culturally diplomatic way, some less so. And I'm hoping that we can really learn how this can be an effective tool for strengthening relationships, as opposed to just being an effective tool for advertising or getting more tourists to your country. So I'm really looking forward to all of the insights that you will bring to this conference. Keep in mind the conference was built in such a way where ICD actually only did half of the job. In the sense, we brought a lot of wonderful speakers from around the world. Your job is to make the most of them. So in the sense, be proactive. Ask questions whenever time allows for it. It's a very heavily charged program. Use the coffee breaks, use the dinners, use the lunches, get business cards, ask questions. You can really help to steer this conference in a very positive direction. If you don't do anything, if you don't contribute, you'll get less out of it. So really, you give what you get. So that's just my reminder for all of you all. This conference is really for all of us. We really look forward to the perspectives and the exchange and the debate on all of these issues.